Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, March 16th, and you have tuned into the NFT Morning Show. This show discusses all things NFTs, crypto, technology, finance, entertainment, gaming, and everything in between. The show runs Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time each and every week. If you are a first-time listener, welcome. If you are a loyal rocker with the NFT Morning Show, then we're happy to have you back. I'm your host, P.O., here with my co-host, Nifty Nick, funniest man in the business, Easy Eats Bodega, the host of GMGM Market Talk, the host of Web3 Made Easy, the founder of Bodago, soon to be the #1 collection on a blockchain near you, Signal, coder turned content creator, the host of Artist Spotlight. We love hearing Signal's analysis on what's going on in the NFT space, repping the little pudgy still as the PFP. We got Kicks. Twitter just does not like this guy, won't let him get on stage. It's all good. We still love him. We'll take him. CEO of Crypto Raiders, Cyber Stadium sounds like it's going live, I believe, next week. Is that right, Kicks? Next week, Cyber Stadium.
Yes, sir. Very excited.
Hell yeah, 100% of the prize pool goes back to the players. Unprecedented. Kicks is also a degenerate extraordinaire. Absolutely love having him on the show. Big Mac D guy, big Bollinger Band guy.
Yeah.
That's right.
John B, shout out.
John B. Shout out to producer extraordinaire Clemente. He was frozen. We got to get him that mesh Wi-Fi. Love having Clemente run shit behind the scenes. He's still frozen. Look at that big old smile though when he's frozen. It's not like Signal who gets frozen with her eyes closed. And last but not least, we got Bunny. Bunny, your bio just says the Doodles socks stay on during sex.
We love the socks. You get all 12 of them, you get a gold pair. Pretty innovative.
You like the socks that much?
Dude, so I got a piece of information for you, Pia. I learned this like a month ago, hanging out with some friends, and a college friend of mine, she said that she keeps her socks on during sex. And apparently there's a report that came out, if you Google this, that people who wear their socks on during sex have more orgasms, basically. And so I thought this was the most ludicrous thing that I had ever heard of. My college friends are now devising a brand around selling socks based on you wearing them during sex. But I just thought you should know that. So, you know, maybe these are just like, maybe these are the sex socks. That's what I'm saying. Like the Doodle socks are the sex socks. That's what they're used for. You pull them out when you're getting ready to do the damn thing.
My mom watches this show, amigo. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm just telling you what people are saying. This is just, maybe she's interested in hearing the statistics. Just Google it, basically. So that's all that I'm saying. And for those that have been having challenges in their sex life, well, I just opened up a new window or door for them where they have an interesting opportunity to potentially level it up.
Well, we talked about Late Night Nick as a show, and I think that that's still something that in the distant future, when we have a little bit more bandwidth, we could probably run. Clemente said Clemente was really eager to produce that one, by the way. Clemente's he's a little sicko over there. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I can't even tell if he's like smiling because he's just consistently frozen. He's just so, yeah, look at this. He just goes from one frozen position to another. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I think Clemente is going to pin it to the top. Please complete the interest form for NFT NYC. If you're going to be in town in New York for NFT NYC, we have a form to gauge your interest for an event that we're going to throw. We just want to understand how many people, estimated will be attending the event so we can finalize the venue and, make sure that we have everything set up properly. So if you want to come to our event, not trying to brag, but people have said that they really enjoy our events before. You can actually talk to people. It's not too loud to talk to people, and everybody just has a good time. Always open bar. So fill out the form. Clemente will pin it. It's pinned to the top right now so that we can finalize that event. Today, we are going to discuss the dip in volume in the NFT market. We're going to discuss Yuga's summoning, running into some technical issues, some rare technical issues from Yuga Labs. Not the first time that they've had technical issues, but technical issues nonetheless. And a little bit of fear, uncertainty, doubt, some good old FUD on the timeline from holders of multiple NFT collections that are very well known in the space. Some would say blue chip. So that's what we're going to dive into today. Nifty Nick, though, how you doing this morning? I didn't even get a chance to ask you. How you doing, buddy?
So I got a coffee maker, as we're aware, a week or two ago.
And it's pod coffee?
Look, it's neither here
just
nor
confirming.
there. It is pods. Yes, there are pods that are utilized. And like we discussed, there was the Cinnabon coffee is what I was drinking. But it turns out that drinking coffee all day, every day is not good for my my internal.
A little tummy ache.
Okay, it gives me acid reflux. So that's the so it challenges me while I'm sleeping.
You've always struck me more as a tea guy.
Well, I'm drinking tea today, and we're gonna see if I go off a detox here as a result of this.
I got a couple questions real quick, Nick, before we dive in. So how many cups of coffee? So I'm a coffee guy, right? Like, I mean, I'm clearly a
One or
coffee
two.
guy. One or two. Okay. And when is the second one?
There wasn't a second one yesterday, yet I still felt it. There's a number of things that can trigger this. Chocolate is another thing that can impact that as well.
And I'd be willing to bet that you've been consuming a little bit of chocolate there, buddy.
I did one time, okay? In the past week.
That sounds about right. One binge where literally there's just chocolate wrappers
one
everywhere.
dessert. No, that's not what went
chocolate
down.
all over your face. Just a
Okay.
proper chocolate wasted explosion. Yeah, I've seen that before, Nick. All right, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the show is sponsored by our newsletter, the Nifty Daily Digest. Sign up at thenifty.com, THENIFTY.com. Newsletter goes out 5 days a week now, just on weekdays. Over to Kicks for the weather report. Thank God. Oh, here we go.
Sorry, Coach. That's on my end. It's okay. Welcome today, Thursday, the 16th of March, 2023. Volume, a little bit of an uptick yesterday, 83 million, Blur 53, OpenSea 18. We all know those numbers aren't true. Leaders, 866.6, Mutants 14.2, Punk 67.5. Azuki, pretty stable, 14.7, one of the only ones left that aren't dumping. Pudgy's 5, Captain's 5, Moonbird's 4.1, Doodles 3.9. Over the past 24 hours, the summoning opened yesterday. Holders claimed power sources, and there were 8 different types, which will evolve into mechs. Yuga faced FUD after companion metadata didn't reveal, and it turned out that tiers only mattered for Dookie Dash and Toad mode. HV-MTL floor at 2.4. DeGODS team announced they are launching a first-of-its-kind minting experience on Bitcoin for 535 DeGODS. The mint will first come, first serve, and they will recommend you have at least 0.4 Bitcoin ready to go. Putting Ethereum and Polygon on the back burner, I guess. Psychedelics Anonymous founder Vultura facing some backlash on Twitter after he said he would be open to transferring ownership, leadership, and IP, but not all of the money to a DAO. It's a wild idea.
He walked it back.
People feel the project needs a different direction. Why don't I just exit to the left? Y'all take it from here. Genesis collection down 10% at 0.17 ETH this morning. Lastly, Doodles and CloneX faced intense FUD after CloneX's merch did not match the renderings that were shown to the community. And Doodles shilled gold socks to holders and told them, we are no longer an NFT project, and you're just some punk consumers to buy these socks. 30-day floor price on CloneX and Doodles is down 20%. Clones 3.6, Doodles 3.9. Quickly looking at crypto, we got Bitcoin 24.7, ETH 1652, Solana 19.4, 84.2, Blur 57 cents. Back to you in the studio.
These are numbers.
Those are numbers, baby. Absolutely fantastic weather report with the numbers at the end for all the numbers people over there. Kicks killing it as usual. Some other stories from the Nifty Daily Digest. Fewocious, very well-known artist that has actually crossed over from NFTs into the traditional art world, has announced that the Fewos, which are the profile picture collection that Fewocious has been working on, are coming soon. Gotta think, as far as fine art profile pictures go, those ought to be positioned to be top of the heap. Farouk, friend of the show, founder of Rug Radio, announced a new sports vertical for the Web3 media company, as well as expansion into foreign language media. I've seen him doing shows in French. That's on brand for this announcement. Yuga Labs initiated the summoning, as Kix touched upon, where eligible sewer pass holders were able to obtain new heavy metal NFTs, a collection which is made up of 30,000 mechs derived from 8 different power sources. So we'll see what comes of the Yuga Labs heavy metal NFTs and the subsequent mechs. On Cyber announced GPT-powered world building. So I'm assuming that's AI-powered world building, given ChatGPT. I don't even know what GPT stands for. Where users can simply request certain items in their digital space, and they will appear. The power of AI. Last but not least, Fidelity, one of the largest asset financial service providers. I don't know if Nick's trying to mess with you, just highlighting the text that I'm reading over and over again while I'm reading it. I don't know if he's trying to throw me off. Anyway, Fidelity, one of the largest asset financial service providers, launched its crypto service to the public yesterday. So you're seeing a TradFi, well-known TradFi institution, incorporate crypto a little bit. Those are your updates from the Nifty Daily Digest. Sign up at thenifty.com, THENIFTY.com. Over to you, Nick.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide some numbers real quick. 7, 72, and 36. Those are all some numbers that are sort of like sitting with me today. 15 and 18 also. So if you're picking out a lottery ticket, maybe try some of those numbers. The other thing,
You should also look at 0, which is the amount of Arbitrum airdrop you're going to get.
that's probably accurate. Look, I'm done with the whole airdrop stuff. I've checked out. I'm now just a purveyor of fine art. Okay, that's where I'm at this point, and free NFTs. So
you're a 12-fold guy. You got all the 12-fold pieces.
Dude, all I'm buying is expensive Bitcoin NFTs at this point in time. Price. Anyways, we can dive into some of that stuff. I want to discuss the DeGODS thing. I want to discuss the Psychedelics Anonymous thing.
There's so much to talk about.
I want to discuss the Fewocious PFP that I'm looking at here. Little scary. With the preview. It feels like the main character he has. Look,
Clemente, can we pull that up?
It's still Fewocious, which is great. But
did you hear the accent? Did you hear the accent in the video? Did anyone watch the video? He put a 1-minute video out about the humanoids. It's a great video, incredible animation. But the accent in there is fantastic. Like, it's a cross between it's an American doing David Attenborough.
This is just a black screen real quick.
Clemente, I'm sending Clemente Google Mesh today. This has gone on long enough. Google Mesh is going to Clemente's house today. His internet sucks right now. Anyway, if you want to ping,
you can just go to Fewocious's Twitter account. I mean, literally just go to his Twitter account. That's it's right there.
I'll be the judge of this.
I just think the character, it looks like Mr. Potato Head got hit in the face with a hammer. Let's scroll down.
This actually reminds
What's the
me
humanoid?
exactly when I lived in San Diego. I did a bunch of shrooms with some buddies, and we watched TV, and this is exactly what it looked like. To a T.
You're not playing the audio there, Pia.
I can.
That's the only plays through on Twitter. But anyways,
I'm about it.
Okay, so there's interesting things that are in there, but it looks like the characters have these bones in their legs, and there's different types of bones in the legs. It feels very fine art PFP.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see we haven't seen any fine art PFP crossover that's stuck so far as I'm aware. People use their X copies as PFPs. I'm trying to think of any others that have really.
What were those projects?
Stuck.
Party Degenerates? Those were fun art.
Those are a little different than this, though.
Okay. All I mean, look, I collected 2 items for Fewocious in order to get this PFP. So we'll see what happens. But I just think like if I get this particular image, it's like one of those things. The beauty of a PFP is one thing. It needs to look, well, there's a couple things. One, it needs to look good in terms of something that I want to wear, like to rock as my identity. And then there's another aspect is that it builds a community that you self-identify with, basically.
And the third aspect is I look for projects that treat me as a consumer buyer of consumer products.
So what was did they tweet that, Doodles?
I believe it was a Discord post that then immediately got screenshotted and obviously rolled out on Twitter.
He's been doubling down on it too. Poopy also had messages at 3:30 a.m. stating when people were fudding buy my Doodles and tagging him, his response was floor it and get the fuck out.
Oh man, I like it.
Hey, here's the thing, man. When you're paying yourself out $2 million a year from your NFT project, like you are literally a class above your buyers. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you think about a caste system, you are levels above them, and you don't have to take their shit. And so I respect him for that.
But do we have confirmation on that though, or are you just speculating?
I'm just speculating.
Okay, so here's what Poopy had said. We're trying to go from a startup to a leading media franchise. We're no longer an NFT project. The more time, money, resources we invest in following the latest build in public trends that fuel speculation, the less we have to achieve our long-term vision. We're not going to spend any resources appeasing those with financial motivations. We never have and never will. That's not going to help an asset that costs. Hold on one sec. Last sentence. If we're going to focus energy on any group of people, it will absolutely be our most loyal collectors.
What bothers me the most about this is you said that you want to move into like a media company, but like that requires posting more, and like media is about like being in people's face, and that's been their hardest struggle is like sharing things, and like you get one announcement every 6 months. Isn't media about like pushing content, or am I just completely off base?
Oh, for sure. But I mean, it's also clear if that's the direction they're going, and this is their attitude, that they have no intention of like, they're just moving on from this. They're not like trying to build value on this existing stack. But here's the thing. Whatever, say all of that, but then you're like minting gold socks in 14 days. Come on, dude. Like, don't tell me like, yeah, we're no longer an NFT project. We're moving on to bigger, better things. Here's 12 different colored socks you can mint in 14 days. That's a little ironic.
I think the problem that they're running into is that none of those are like ETH, and which is fine, but the problem is that's supposedly the, well, I don't know. It's a weird thing with the close. I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening with Doodles, but their execution strategy, I will say, has been holistically different than basically all the other PFP projects, and they are at least releasing some things, if that's a good thing. You know, like, dude, the bar in the NFT space of like deliverables at this point has been infinitely dropped. I will say, like, the communication thing is a tough one. And we've faced our own challenges with that particular area. And I think the real thing that you try and figure out is like, how do you, like, what do you communicate and when do you communicate it? And what's the like, what does well in this market? And all that we have right now is as a benchmark pretty much is Yuga Labs is the primary benchmark. And then you have a bunch of projects which just haven't delivered shit for like a long period of time. And a lot of people are wondering what the hell is going on. And if there's any, takeaway, it's very straightforward. It's that people want a consistent cadence of marketing events followed by drops. That's it. Like, that's like what the NFT collector base anticipates and expects. So if you're not able to like deliver that, then you're not able to do well in this market. And the reality is like, instead what we've seen is a lot of projects saying get exhausted and burnt out and basically say, hey, or run out of money. And that's like a very large percentage of this space at this point in time. I think what was happening is with the Psychedelics Anonymous tweet yesterday, which was essentially Voltura being like, oh, I can sell this project to, I can give this project over to the community. Sign me up, remove me from responsibility was the way that it came across. And there's a lot of people that are in that area. I look at Gutter Cat Gang. I even think about like what's going on with Cool Cats, like what's going on with them right now, and what's going on with there were so many projects I've looked at.
The fact of the matter, man, is profile pics are hot air. That's what it is at the end of the day.
They don't have to be. They don't have to be hot air. The problem
depends
is
on the price. I'm saying any profile pic that's going to like crazy price points, right? Like 10 ETH plus. Like what is that based on fundamentally, other than like a game of hot potato? It's not to say that people don't like profile pics. I mean, I rocked my Moonbird for 8 months despite the price going down because I actually liked it as a profile pic. But what I mean is like when these things get to these crazy price appreciations, and that's part of even me like ragging on like Doodles. That's one of the things that I can at least like say is that it's not like they were like intentionally pumping these things to the moon, right? Like they never struck me as like a very pumpy project, and it was just speculators that took these things to absurd prices, and now they're coming back down to reality, and that sucks, but that's life.
So we saw a lot of these projects and their lack of ability to execute, or signs that like they were sketchy, where you have anonymous founders and things like that. You have entrepreneurs or newfound entrepreneurs who never had an entrepreneurial bone in their body until suddenly money was flashed in front of their face, and suddenly now they're entrepreneurs. Let me tell you, if you throw money at someone who can't sing, doesn't make them a great singer. I'm just letting you know. And the same thing's been going on with a lot of the entrepreneurs in this space. And the PFP vertical in particular is about entrepreneurship. It's about building a business. It's about delivering things to your customers. We've had our own, I think that we've had our own evolution, I would say, of our business, of figuring out where do we fit categorically. Is it just content? Is it Web3, NFTs? We're leaning much heavier in that direction at the moment. But I look and I see all of the errors that have been made in this space. And to your comment, Kicks, which is that this is all hype and hot air. The one thing I will say is with Yuga, what they've done a great job at, if you want to say Doodles saying we're a media company, Yuga is demonstrating a new form, call it a new form of media company, basically. I think Pudgy's kind of have, but the best one is 10KTF and Yuga have basically done the quote media company. I don't know what their like storyline is. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand Jimmy the monkey. I don't understand the dog that they just introduced. I know that they need characters, but I have no fucking clue like what the actual, if you're going to start at point A and end up at another place. I don't understand their narrative, but they're creating content and they're delivering stuff. And they're they're one of the few companies in the space that's done so on a repeatable and consistent basis, included with drops and tokens associated with it. So yeah. I don't know.
I think everything you said is on point. I can weigh in on it too in a sec, but Bunny has his hand raised. Bunny, what do you think?
But my hand was up for, I was going to say something about the Voltura thing. He was getting flack from the community that like he wasn't doing a good job in his leadership role, which is why that tweet got sent out before it was deleted.
Yeah. I mean, look, so the bottom line is there are just.
Well, he's anonymous.
Exactly. The anonymous thing is a real tough one, ladies and gentlemen. Dude,
but people would be like, he's doxxed. When we would throw shade their way, because he came on the show and he gave out his first name essentially. But if you Googled
his full name, but it wasn't anywhere on the internet and wouldn't come on video. And when we asked him, so the collection is called Psychedelics Anonymous, right? Psychedelics Anonymous. And we asked him, we were like, did psychedelics change your life? Like, what about psychedelics? Or like, what's your history with mushrooms? Like, asked him about psychedelics, and he was just like refused to answer the question. And I was just
He
like,
was basically like, nah, I haven't done psychedelics, but it's great branding. You know what I'm saying?
Signal, you have your hand raised. What's going on?
Yeah, I was gonna say, even even the entrepreneurs who are seasoned in this space, it's extremely challenging for for them to even navigate. And when I look at what a lot of the projects have stated they're going, look, a lot of projects haven't even stated what they're going to do. So you have that problem where you're trying to, like, as a holder, you're trying to like guess. Like when you say media company, what exactly do you mean? Because everybody has, in this space at least, everybody has a very different interpretation of what media is in the long term. And Easy alluded to that. There's just not many people who are building, and then you're actually seeing that sort of real life tangible, okay, I see what they're doing. I think Gary Vee, like whatever you think about him, is a good example. He has stated, I am building the IP for VeeFriends. You see him at basketball games, at like wherever he is, wearing his whichever character it is, and you're seeing him release the toys, you're seeing release the partnership. So he's very long term. He's saying, I'm going to build this for 30, 40 years, but at least I know in year 2 and 3, I can see it's happening, even if I am a holder or if I'm not a holder. I just think it's so difficult in all these other projects where they state what they may be doing, aren't doing, and then you're meant to like somehow like kind of figure it out. Like even with Clone X, like, I'm sorry, but if I went online, wanted to buy a pair of trousers, looked at the pictures, bought those trousers, and then what arrived is a completely different color to what I chose.
I'm so mad about
black.
this.
Yeah, you choose black, and what comes? Navy. You'd be absolutely livid as a customer. So
I'm
it's just
so mad about
the
that
expectations and the reality are just simply not there. So it's going back to what Nick was saying. Like, there's just so many founders here just not delivering, and the benchmark is so low that in the end, I think the capital can only flow either to artists where people are like, there are no expectations, it's just art, or to only a handful of projects, handful of projects where you're like, this team can deliver, and I know I can go to bed at night, wake up in the morning, and the floor price is not tanked.
So there's so many things about what you said. One thing is about Gary, and then there's just some statistics on this sort of thing. Supposedly 5% of startups fail, or sorry, 95% of startups fail within the first year. I think that's small businesses, though. That's different than venture-backed startups because they have a little bit more runway.
Like restaurants, right? Like restaurants.
Well, I saw
exactly.
a wild statistic from the ICO bubble, which I think is more comparable. 55% of companies and organizations that raised through an ICO failed the following year. That to me is like, that's more comparable to what we're seeing now, because that cycle was like, and then if you look at the .com bubble, that was similar metrics. It was like 48% failed from the .com bubble that raised, which those two cycles are way more comparable to where we are now, in my opinion.
And you also, the ICO comparison is because a lot of those companies did hold their assets in crypto. I have friends who survived onto today and are now running a different business, or still even running that existing business, but they have like horror stories and deep pain from their assets falling by 90%. Because they held on to like Bitcoin for their operating capital for throughout like the or ETH,
at the top
one
of the cycle.
Yeah, basically is where they raised money, and so they ended up completely screwed. But the thing I was going to say, also, in addition to the statistics about all these companies failing, when you say Signal, when you see seasoned entrepreneurs, I want to draw a distinction between seasoned entrepreneurs, which feel like they have something to prove, and those which seem to be just coasting, and they've made so much money they can retire now. Gary is one of these rare people who's rich and also appears to have a fire behind him. And I don't know if that's and it feels genuine to me, basically.
He wants to buy the Jets. That's what he wants to do. He needs more money to do
Good
it.
luck with the Aaron Rodgers signing. Let's go.
He doesn't even talk about the buying the Jets anymore. I saw him have a comment on that. But regardless, he feels like he has that fire, and that's what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for an entrepreneur that's going to succeed, is someone who's like has an immense amount of fuel and fire and feels like they have something to prove. And when their back's up against the wall, they're going to work their ass off. They're not just going to be like, I made some money, gave it a go sort of thing. Like, they're just going to like work their ass off. And that's the thing that I think is just rare. Most people,
Yeah.
and then there's a lot of people who parade around, just like there's people that pretend to be investors, like VCs. There's a bunch of entrepreneurs that pretend to be entrepreneurs and just go out and, you know, say that they're entrepreneurs, raise money,
Get
do all
hammered
these
at
things.
South by Southwest.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm building. It's a really busy building, man. Hey, can I get another shot of Casamigos? The whole round. Yeah, well, business expenses as shit. Yeah, this is networking. Yeah, Bob, come over too. Haven't seen you in a hot minute, dude. How's your startup going? You raced again? Again, you dog. What kind of car are you driving now? Oh, shit. That's awesome. You can fly my jet back to New York if you want.
So a couple things. So first of all, you know Gary really actually has the fire, because every week I see new clips of Gary talking to people at conferences where a 38-year-old grown man comes up to Gary and is like, Gary, I don't know what I should do with my life. And Gary's just like, you're so young, dude. You're so young, bro. And it's like, dude, I'm not doing that. I'm not hanging out with grown men and just encouraging them at 38 years old to go and start their business. And obviously I'm like half joking, but for Gary to stand there and hear out as many people as he does, he really does do it. You have to want to do that if you're already rich as hell. I'm just saying, Kevin Rose is not doing that. Kevin Rose, yeah. Anyway,
here's my like take, which is right around the lines of what you're saying, Pia, which is like, I want to like break like two things apart. Like what I care about with all of these projects and these teams is how they're deploying their capital, right? And what they're deploying their capital towards. And is it doing things that are going to make the space better or push the space forward or help, or benefit previous buyers of their collection, right? And draw like disconnect that from just floor price or floor price goes down. Okay, I bought a Moonbird for $38,000. How much are they worth now? Like $7,000 or $8,000? Guess who I blame for that decision? Myself. I don't blame Kevin Rose for that decision. So like the people that are like, Poopy, buy my Doodles. You're a bozo, dude. If you bought a fucking Doodle for 60 grand, you're an idiot. That's on you. And you'll never not become an idiot if you don't realize that and take responsibility for buying a Doodle for 60 grand. And not only doing that, but then holding it all the way down until it's worth $5 grand. You're the dumb
idiot.
In that situation. Poopy's not the dumb. You're the dumb. And until you recognize that, you will never have personal growth. But what I do care about is the money that these projects make. What are you doing? So my problem with Kevin Rose is that he's got $50 million in the treasury, and all of I've seen some paper sketches for High Rise and then a bunch of things they had to cancel. That's all I've seen. So those are my gripes. Like when I look at Doodles and they're like, we're being a media company, go buy some golden socks, right?
See NFT statistics.
I'm not seeing where the money is going. So the projects out there, Vultura, right? You got $12 million in secondary. You're trying to, pass it all off to a DAO. What are you doing with the 12 million? Explain what you're doing with the 12 million, what you're trying to build, right? The guy that bought your, the weird ass profile pic of a dude that's on some synthetic bathtub chemical. If someone bought that for $9,000, that's on them. That's not on Vultura. That's on them. And then they held it until it was worth $300. That's on them, not Vultura. But I want to see, what are you doing with your capital?
All I want to see from Vultura is one video call. If we see his face on video, I'm a total sentiment shift. That's all I want to see is one video call. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have someone who I don't believe has been on the show before. We have repping a Ute PFP with a gold crown. Very cool. Ruto, Clemente tells me that Ruto is a talented Spaces host. Ruto, you're representing that you're 31 years old. You don't see that every day. You see people that are like 25 and below putting their age in their bio, like I'm 23, because they want people to be impressed by their age. You're 31 years old, bro. I'm not flexing that I'm 33 years old. But anyway, Ruto, you requested to speak on the show. How's it going?
I'm doing well, man. Yo, GM. I'd like to flex the age. I want everyone to know my lower back and knees hurt pretty often. So, I'm pretty bullish on getting older. But guys, listen, I appreciate it. Clemente, yo, huge shout out to you, man. I appreciate you showing the support, and thanks for having me up here, guys. I love the topic of conversation. It's something that I've kind of spoke a bit about on my Spaces last night, and it's kind of like, okay, have we reached the point in the NFT space? And mind you, I understand market sentiment. I understand there's very little liquidity. There's about 50,000 active NFT wallets currently in the ecosystem. A far cry from when we were at around 500,000 plus around early Q1 of 2022. So I understand how these things are going, but I agree with what you were saying, Nick. It's like you can't just give a singer who's bad at singing like a bunch of money and expect them to be good at singing. So I get that point too. And the question I want to pose to everyone, it's like, if you're looking at the charts right now and you're kind of looking at the collective on what's going on with a lot of the quote unquote large cap projects or blue chips or whatever the hell you want to call them these days, it's what kind of seems to be like the overall sentiment with all of them. And for me, I think you mentioned this just recently, PO. It's like, how do we, if these people are looking to build out a media brand or whatever it is, it's like, look, these guys have raised, there are millions of dollars worth of capital that's been invested into these companies. The amount of money that they have in comparison to the rate in which they're deploying actual, either they're shipping out products or services or whatever, it's pretty slow for the amount of money that they have too. So it's like,
they got like 30-year burn rates right now, just chilling.
Yeah, it's crazy. So for me, it's like, okay, there needs to be, if they're kind of straying away from the focus of like their holders being like the main priority and they're focused more so on like the long-term vision of what's going on. I think especially if most of the money has come from either their holders, consumers, customers, whatever you want to call them, then I think it would be important if they were to be a lot more public with or transparent with how these funds are being allocated. I even posed the question, it's like, would it be bullish for major projects who have a ton of funding to actually be transparent with where these capital allocations are going towards? Because then you can see where, like, what the actual long-term vision is, right? So I mean, it's bearish for projects who have a shitty like plan or a terrible mismanagement of funds. It'd be terrible for them, but for those who are managing their funds correctly, it's bullish. So it's like, why wouldn't they be transparent with that? I don't know.
Well, it's not necessarily bullish in the sense that like Rug Radio publishes theirs and I read theirs, and it's fascinating to see how they're spending, especially in that like up until now we've had similar operations, similar revenue, and so it's cool to see, and I like that as someone who's operating a business in the space. That said, when you have NFT holders and you share your financial management, they suddenly it feels very close to public reporting, and they feel as though they have ownership in your business and that they can give you feedback on how you're spending your money and things like that. Instead, what's worked really well is the Yuga playbook, which is literally keep releasing things. And I want to say the bar is pretty damn low, actually, when you think about how much money they have and what they've released. All that they've had to do is release art and websites and NFTs, basically. That's all that they need to release. And then they did a mini game. Okay. So they've done a couple mini games.
The game's a big deal, but that was the first time that they've put something out that's like legit.
And I'm not trying to diminish what they've done. I think they've done phenomenal with their execution, but all that they've done is they've done progressive releases. And that's the same as a lot of people are being like, we're not doing the build in public thing. I saw some quote about that last night from, I don't remember who it was, but like
Poopy.
There's been a lot of Poopy was okay. So So whatever the situation is with that, the bottom line is there's a lot of founders which don't like the accountability, but more importantly, it's that they're just not reading the market properly. And I think in the PFP space, the biggest promise that we were talking about is that this is an IP play. And the reality is that historically, the way that intellectual property has rolled out is that they're partnering with legacy organizations. I'm not referring to Yuga, but everyone else. Look at Doodles, look at all these other people. So think of them being like, we're partnering with movie studios. We're working with music companies. We're working with X. And the way that all of those companies operate are very campaign driven. So when someone launches a book, you suddenly see them on a book tour. When someone has a new album that's dropping, you suddenly see them everywhere. When someone has a movie that's dropping, you suddenly see them everywhere. And you only see them for like an 8-week period every 2 years. And that's the way that you end up seeing those different things. So when these companies partner with those, what I'll call legacy traditional media brands, That's the recipe that they're following and that they're being advised on. Yuga is showing you that, hey, in Web3 and frankly just the internet, that you need to show up every day. Social media characterizes this, right? If you can't do a TikTok for 8 months and then just be gone for a year and a half and be like, I crushed it. Every social media person will tell you they burn out, it's hard sustaining. There's all sorts of issues associated with it, but that is the reality of the world that we live in. Yuga's building for that. The majority of companies are not. And where they're getting a lot of their insight and feedback is from traditional companies, which can go through that campaign cycle. And I even think of software businesses and things like that. You don't hear from Salesforce every day, but when they launch a new product, you sure hear a lot about it in all the tech publications, basically, and business publications.
Well, and I feel like they've already figured all of this out. So like NFTs, in a sense, can be looked at as like very similar to Kickstarters, which is that people that are interested in an idea or in a concept can fund that idea or concept, and they're not equity holders, but they usually get some sort of benefit or reward in the release that people just at the public markets, whenever this thing releases, don't get. And Kickstarter has figured this all out. Years ago, they implemented Kickstarter updates, and projects are expected to come in and post regular updates until the project ships. And the ones that don't post regular updates get fudded. That's just literally the business model for Kickstarter. NFTs are very similar. So if you go out and you say, I have a cool NFT idea, I need $1.5 million to execute it, you should be expected that you're going to have to post, not every day, but post like monthly updates being like, this is how we are progressing towards the end goal for the idea that you all funded.
Yeah, and if I could add anything, and then I do want to switch things up because I think that it's worth talking about this Logan Paul situation, with that collection. And I know Easy's been close to that. I think it's worth discussing with CoffeeZilla and everything. But anyway, last piece is that a lot of people have a lack of understanding when it comes to what action they should take that will be, that will receive positive feedback from the people that hold their NFTs. That's like a really big thing too. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing from Poopy is, NFT holders are like, we want action that positively impacts the NFTs that we hold. And as a result, he's basically pushing back saying, you're not going to get that. And, people get really pissed. Go ahead, Nick.
There's been something that I've been saying, and we're actually focused on that inevitably you're going to see. What and the fact that we host this show means that like I end up revealing, like I'm not telling you what we're about to drop, but the bottom line is in a traditional organization, think of a software business or something like that, the marketing team provides collateral to their sales team to go out and utilize in order to drum up business. This could be presentations, PDFs, articles, and other things that they can then go and send out to their sales prospects. In the Web3 space, it's the exact same thing, but most projects are not doing it. The one that's done the best of this, I would say, is probably Pudgy Penguins. They have a lot of GIFs. They have a lot of imagery. They have a lot of other things that people can utilize. And essentially what your community becomes is a decentralized marketing team. And what they do is when you give them assets like a video that Yuga just dropped or that sort of thing, they retweet it, they comment on it, they post quotes about it, and that amplifies the message about your brand. So you're instead of delivering those marketing assets to your sales team, you're delivering those marketing assets to your community. And that's the companies that have done that and the teams that have done that have absolutely crushed. I remember with Pudgy having all the GIFs and attacking people, and it's like, where is all this coming from? And that was the essence of what made that work. And if you empower your community with assets, with deliverables, with things that give them something to talk about, they're going to talk about it and they're going to feel good about it. And it's as simple as that. And the reality is like the marketing asset that Doodles is giving you is a pair of digital socks. And that's the thing where it's
that
like,
you have to buy.
That you have to buy. Like that's going to maybe miss the mark. Like I just want to throw that out there because like when I think of like a non-holder of it viewing a picture of some socks, I'm thinking, what the hell is this thing? Clone X, I understand the FUD that they're getting right now, but those Murakami sneakers look fucking dope. And so people want an opportunity to post
And
those.
And they're limited run Nike sneakers in partnership with an artist that's big outside the NFT space. And like when Murakami dies as an artist, he's going to be like immortalized.
Yeah. So I think that's the
Always
bottom line. We're waiting for him to die. Yes.
Yeah, it's not a morbid thing. I'm just being realistic. Look, with regards to this, what is it? Crypto Zoo? Easy?
DGen Zoo is the one that is actually absolutely cooking right now.
Okay, so I want to give some context to the audience. I think maybe to some people, that aren't familiar with Crypto Zoo. So basically, CoffeeZilla's gone on like a media campaign against Logan Paul because Logan Paul launched a hard rug that generated almost $2 million or maybe even more than that. And CoffeeZilla's like really like holding him accountable. And Logan Paul's like, I don't want to do anything. And so he went on Joe Rogan and talked about it, like the whole thing. And I think that there was a class action lawsuit against Logan Paul. And Easy, what has happened in parallel to this?
Yeah, so I mean, in parallel to this, the key thing too, to just kind of add some context, Logan Paul had a multi-part series dropped on him by CoffeeZilla about Crypto Zoo. Logan Paul came out, offered to refund the purchase price. Now says that he's
not of everybody though, of only like 40% or something, because there were two assets and he offered to do a refund on one but not the other. But go ahead.
Just the eggs, not if you revealed an egg. So only the unrevealed assets. So about 40% of the remaining supply. And now is stating he's going to release the game. However, MakerDAO, a popular organization development studio that's on ETH, very well known as far as like ETH developers go, is decided to launch the exact same game, but do it in 60 days and donate all of the money raised from it to charity to help endangered species. And now the game's live. So it launched this morning at 6 a.m. The token is up over 100% from where it released at. And they've outlined everything, doxed videos of them explaining the process. The eggs are now on secondary. There's about 2,000 of the supply. It's my speculation, though, and like I've dove right into the token fairly early on this and started buying up the NFTs because my bet is that like this is a spite play against Logan Paul, which like even people who hate NFTs love. Like that's the thing here is like this is like there's a narrative that could be spun that NFTs are dumb and how quickly this is possible. But at the same time, we're now seeing this play out and basically all those promises and multiple millions made by Logan Paul, a team with no funding is delivering on it with AI artwork in 60 days and has sent it to life and gotten the AI artwork and the tokens listed on Mexi, Bybit, Binance. Like they managed to get every partnership for it. So I'm just like, clearly there's teams that if you put the effort forward, you can do it. And that goes for any project.
I can't believe we bought this in the company wallet.
Oh, I sprinted to buy these.
Nick, so
this
Logan
thing is a fucking train wreck.
This thing that Easy's talking about?
DGen Zoo?
Yeah, this just dropped today.
Yeah, so Nick. So basically, Logan Paul promised a fun game where you can make money.
No, I know. I saw the whole thing. I watched the video. What I'm saying, and I understand the spite thing, and I understand the joke associated with it. It's a meme though. Like it's a meme. Like it's not something that you're going to keep using. So if anything that you're just banking on is that like there's a group of people that end up wanting to buy this. That my issue is it already subdivides the NFT community and the people who are in outside of NFTs have no compelling reason to go buy this thing. The people that are within NFTs, you get a subset of them that end up buying them. But I don't know if this meme is like a full crossover into like, I don't know, the broader Web3 community.
All it takes is one YouTuber dropping one video.
CoffeeZilla is definitely going to talk about it. I mean, look, Easy's time horizon is incredibly short, right? Easy's got like 4 TV screens.
They're already listed.
He's all over the place. I just thought it was interesting that, this is the penultimate of like the celebrity. And then he's getting his feet held to the fire by CoffeeZilla across all platforms, including the biggest podcast in the world. CoffeeZilla's yapping about this. And then you get MakerDAO, a known entity from the NFT space that goes and shows that Logan Paul could have created it in 60 days. It goes live. It obviously attracts the attention of the NFT space. Feetpics.wtf, a attracted the attention of the NFT space. It's
Yes.
not that shocking to me that this attracted the attention of the NFT space. If anything, the NFT space will take this 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000 over Frank Stella, legendary artists from the traditional art world dropping NFTs. The NFT space, a bunch of guys that are into cartoons, video games, and smoking marijuana, they don't want Frank Stella. They say Frank Stella who? I don't know what that is. That's not a video game. That's not a cartoon. But something like this, they can totally get behind. So I'm just pointing it out. It's interesting. Bunny has his hand raised. Bunny, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of prove Nick wrong. Kind of don't like Logan Paul. Both 4 of these things just for the hell of it.
There you go, Bunny. A little spite. I mean, if anyone would understand spite-related purchases, I would think it's Nick. Nick was the person talking about literally setting up a spite conference next to VCon because he was not invited to be a speaker at VCon.
We haven't
2
fully
years in a row.
executed on that yet, but I do want to make that a reality. Yeah, that's definitely one that
And just
I need to add to our roadmap.
Exist.
Yeah, this is vintage Nick. He's like, I can't relate to that. That's dumb. He's doing the exact same thing, just in a slightly different way. Yeah. Anyway, Clemente, going back to the call sheet. Look, it seems like FUD has been at a recent high on the timeline. I think you can probably credit that to the quote-unquote blue chip projects having their prices consistently go down. You talk about Doodles, Moonbirds, CloneX. It seems like CloneX misled its holders is the sort of narrative by providing different material and products than initially promised in its first season of forging. I got a kick out of what Signal said. You can tell that Signal's into fashion. She goes, imagine if you ordered black pants and they came back navy. What a crime that black was actually navy. I think for non-fashion people, you should have said you ordered something black and it came back pink or something like that. Signal,
No. I'm sorry. Okay. If your outfit's all black and then you rock up with you got like black hat, black jacket, and then like black top, navy pants. And then the people should be like, what? Like, what?
The fashion people know that. Yeah, the fashion people know that, but I know there's a lot of crypto guys that are like, well, navy's almost black. It's kind of the same thing. I got a kick out of that where Signal's appalled at the idea that you ordered something black and it came back navy. Anyway, I mean, look, I just think that we're seeing a distinction from those that have a deep understanding of the present and future of NFTs versus those that didn't and got wound up in and I wouldn't put CloneX in this category, but people that got wound up in a hype cycle, a cycle where a lot of liquidity was and new users were actually coming into the space. New buyers were actually coming into the space, and there was a limited amount of quality products for them to buy, right? There were, you buy a Kevin Rose PFP. Well, he's Kevin Rose. Like, that's a big, big name. You buy a Doodles NFT. The art is great. Burnt Toast is a known entity. Poopy's an OG. It made a lot of sense, right? But then now you have people like Pudgy Penguins, Luca, DeGODS, Frank, and I'm going to put Can Pie Pandas somewhere into this conversation. I listened to an interview with Ice Bags or Doreel Milk Bags, whatever his name is, the other day, and it really did feel like he had an understanding. I actually want to get him on the show. I talked to Nick and Clemente about it because, yeah, it's interesting to me who kind of gets it right now and who doesn't. And there is like a separation between, like, say, a seasoned entrepreneur, a Web 2 builder versus somebody that's really dialed in really deep on the Web 3 side. Nick, it looked like you wanted to chime in with something.
Well, I'm curious. One thing we didn't hit on here associated with this is the DeGODS drop, which is going on. Yeah, the 0.44 Bitcoin, and some people they received FUD was one of the things as well. It's you damned if you do and damned if you don't in the NFT space. Inevitably,
unless you're Yuga.
And I mean, no, even at that point, like there's some way you're going to get FUD. It's not like Yuga is free of FUD. They're Nazis, right? Like, so I think that's like one of the situations that like a lot of people, and then you also have the FUD associated with the drop with Other Deed, where there were bugs associated with it. They just had bugs with this other drop, but the Other Deed drop was one which was inaccessible to the average person who wanted to participate, but there was extraordinary gas. So there were a number of things which they've received FUD about historically. Inevitably, you can get FUD for pretty much anything, and in this case, like Frank's one of them. Who I saw a bunch of commentary about like how expensive these DeGODS are. I think it's probably the same price as the regular DeGODS. Is that correct? Easy, like that. Essentially, the reason is
it's a couple $100 cheaper at the current moment.
Okay, so you get this this ordinal DeGOD. I wonder, like, in terms of effort being allocated to it. Look, you got Yuga. You got Frank dropping something associated with on ordinals, which is interesting to see. Do we have any like data? The primary metric that ordinals has used up until now has been the number of daily like mints happening, inscriptions. Do we have any information on like secondary activity associated with ordinals, or is that just like not really a thing yet because it's so hard to transfer?
It's hard to calculate it across all of the different spreadsheets that the trading happens on.
Well, there is 6 marketplaces, but to Kix's point, like most of the trading happens in Discords and a lot of OTC deals. So there is some volume. I actually know a bunch of people in the Nifty managed to hit on something that was like selling for 0.1 that was a free Bitcoin ordinal that they got just from like an allow list. So there is volume. It's just much slower. I've been looking at the Bitcoin Punk volume on Emblem Vault from like a larger scale, just because that is a sub 50K inscription number. So there's like a demand for it just based on that alone, because you can always inscribe over it. But like that's something that I look at for like when volume runs there. If those pump, usually the market on the Bitcoin side is running. There's not like a decent aggregator yet for all the marketplaces. Especially because like a lot of people right now are actually just doing Discord trades and OTC deals.
We might be like
a lot of scams going on too, because I literally just logged into Bitcoin Toad's Discord and someone was impersonating me like 6 hours ago trying to scam people. I was like, why am I tagged?
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think we're like a solid year out before you're going to see like a sophisticated, polished ordinals secondary situation. It's not going to go anywhere, though. It is going to become something. That does not mean that if you buy a random ass ordinal right now, that random ass ordinal is going to be worth anything, right? And you're probably going to you have like a 30% chance of getting scammed throughout the process of it. This is like a scammer's dream. So timeout. With one question for Easy or whoever is really well versed with this DeGODS on Bitcoin situation. So I understand the price. I understand it's DeGODS on Bitcoin, but let's say I own a DeGOD right now. I own a Solana DeGOD, a proper DeGOD. Is the call to action here buy another one on ordinals, or who's the target audience that's going to buy this?
It's Bitcoin holders is like the target audience. Like they're trying to. Frank has made it clear he wants to be on every single chain at some point. He wants to have some exposure to every chain.
Easy just hit the nail on the head. It's Bitcoin bulls basically that are in the inscription space. The inscription market essentially of whales within it. It's not a huge drop. I think it's 333 or 888. I don't know the exact number. But, okay, 535. Dead in the middle of my my estimate here, but
the interesting thing is they're all inscribed in order on a singular block. So it's like they have this. They were like a full block. So people who are like genuine Bitcoin maxis are impressed that they were able to push all of these in sequential order on one block. They're all sub 100K inscriptions, and you're getting a DeGOD for essentially floor price. I think there's, to Nick's point, 333 to actually mint in Bitcoin. And then they're auctioning other ones in Dust, and they're actually auctioning Frank's PFP in Dust as the first one. And that's upwards of, I think, like $30,000 right now.
The space that he hosted last night was very centric. I didn't listen to it, but I saw a lot of the comments coming out of it. And what Frank's been tweeting about is Bitcoin pretty much. That's been like his, like, so if I'm looking at like who the target audience is for buying this is, people who are enthusiastic about Bitcoin ordinals is the target demographic. That demographic does seem to be sustaining, the market right now. And we've seen a number of drops. It's not like we have a flood of ordinal drops every single day. We have just like a couple of key ones that end up showing up. We had the Yuga one. Now we got the DeGODS one. I'm sure there's like niche ones that are existing within the space. But interestingly enough, the ones that seem to perform the best are ones that are associated with success in the existing NFT ETH-based NFT space.
Yeah.
Which shows that like your demographic is this concentric circle of realistic Bitcoin enthusiasts who are not just the Bitcoin maxis, I should say, and then people who were interested in NFTs. The concentric circle of that, which is like more rational Bitcoiners, if you want to call them that, moderates.
Literally. No, literally.
Yeah.
And that's the majority of people that own more than one Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin maxis are not, they don't own more than one Bitcoin. And so like, does their opinion really matter? One question. So Frank's electing to put the actual DeGod artwork, the profile pictures on Bitcoin. Yuga Labs elected to do a fine art vertical. Obviously there was feedback on the quality of the art that Yuga Labs put out. Regardless, I like the angle of them saying, like, they didn't take Bored Apes. Like, what, Nick, you had a Bored Ape when 12-fold dropped. What if they just said, we're taking Nick's Bored Ape and putting it on Bitcoin? Buy it, bitch. Like, you know, that would have been an interesting move.
Well, it's not a copy. It's the dead gods that are being...
It's also the ones that they burned. So back when there was this like paper hand bitch tax is what they called it. If you sold your DeGod for less than you bought it for, there was a contract level 33.3% royalty applied if you sold it under the price you bought it for. And there was a lot of FUD on this. DeGods actually didn't trade over mint for a while in December 2021 because of this. And then they finally got rid of that, changed up a bunch of things, but they would take every paper hand bitch tax and randomly buy a DeGod that was within the range, and they burned these X amount. So now the whole speculation, and like, there's obviously a lot of people who are like, you obviously didn't plan for this. Ordinals are new, so now you're just changing up the narrative. But they're playing into this whole like story that like what's dead may never die. So the DeGods are gone, supposedly burned, but they had a counterpart for the artwork in these dead gods. So these are all first-time dead gods. And that's why Frank's one is actually being raffled, because that was the first ever DeGod that was burned.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think just on the ordinal thing in general, my concern with things like, you know, 12-fold and maybe even this that are like priced really high is I can't think in my head of any NFT asset that is massively valuable today that was sold out of the gate for more than $10,000. Right?
More
like
than $10,000.
How much were autoglyphs for, like, you know, how much were ringers?
All of that stuff. All of that stuff. We're talking 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. And I just
how
think
much was Bored Ape Yacht Club, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And all of this stuff has just like the valuations today just seem to just be, I don't know, people will push back on this because they're ordinals, but they just seem to have skewed very quickly, very high. And we're seeing what has happened to PFPs. Like, we're seeing that value can't sustain. And just because it's happening in this ecosystem doesn't mean that in sort of 12, 18, 24 months, it can't happen over there. So I'm just a bit cautious on like these current valuations. I'd rather wait it out and buy something later on than sort of come in and buy something like 12-fold right now, which, I mean, it's difficult to say whether it will sustain its valuation 5-10 years from now. I mean, like, you saw how long it took something like Squiggles or Autoglyphs or Fidendas to get to where they are. And I'm not sure right now, once you move away from it's on Bitcoin, so that narrative plays out because you end up having so many ordinals on there. What is the intent, the narrative, and the compelling story for somebody to want to go buy one ordinal or ordinal over another?
The biggest thing right now, the other component of it is just the flex. And that's the thing that's working right now for marketing, is being like, I own this thing and look how much this is worth and look how much this price was, is the marketing. So like the fact that they're so extraordinarily expensive right now is adding to the like sort of attention associated with it, right? If it that said, if they DeGods doesn't need assistance with getting the marketing, but I think that ordinals themselves got a bunch of traction also because of some of the price action that was going on ordinals. And so that's something that's compelling, where people are, instead of paying the same decimal level ETH prices, they're doing the exact same thing with Bitcoin, which is an order of magnitude, like it's 10x the price. And so I think from that standpoint, like, people are sort of shocked by it, and it's made a lot of people say, well, I need exposure to this particular space. But to your point, I don't think they're going to sustain at these prices inevitably. And the real thing is, like, how do they reduce the friction so this becomes a more compelling thing to trade on. But in the fine art space, I liked that thesis. And I think even, well, I don't remember who it was, but we were talking about the fine art in the ordinal space. And
12-folder.
What was that?
12-fold?
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about Gabe Layden, I think, was the one that articulated it about like the Bitcoin whales and that they have money and that it makes more sense to have like fine art on here. And I kind of buy that that thesis, but like you need to be someone that already purchases at that price. Whereas the entire NFT market was built off people that like myself who bought at $400 or something like that and saw the numbers go up astronomically. And so it's hard to pull people into a space when you're not operating at that level, which is why I think there is going to be some friction. Like it's not just an overnight success for ordinals. And I think that a lot of people that are diving into it early are taking on immense risk. And maybe they end up seeing incredible results after that. But a lot of the historical NFT stuff did not play out as anticipated. And I expect a similar thing with ordinals.
Don't even get me started. I mean, the historical NFTs are actually just the high value NFTs now, like CryptoPunks and Bored Apes. If someone's bringing up some new thing that you've never heard of and calling it a historical NFT, do not buy it. I'm telling you, I have 7 rare Pepes right now. You cannot give these things away. I really mean it, ladies and gentlemen. I really mean it. Nobody will buy these things. No one. I lower the price every day. Anyways, Signal has a little bit of a call out here to Artist Spotlight. Artist Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, is designed to showcase artists that are doing well in the NFT space. These are not sponsored spots. We just want to show love to artists, support some artists. Signal, please take it away.
Yeah, shout out to Ibuka Mordi, who is the featured artist of the week. Like, look, you know those people who have all the gear and no idea? So those people go play golf and they've got the latest golf clubs, they've got the latest clothes. They get there and they go and shank. That ball just goes so left. You're just like, bruh, I thought those were new. Anyway, Ibuka is the opposite of that. When he started his career, he started on an iPod Touch. And because he didn't have professional gear, what he did is that he focused on his post-production skills. He did those 10,000 hours on Adobe and he absolutely killed his post-production editing skills. He ended up failing so much, but in the end, because of all the hard work he did, he ended up getting signed with Vogue as photographer, and Adobe came to him and said, how can we make our Lightroom suite and products better? That's what when you happen when you start with no gear, but all the ideas. This guy has the kind of grit that you see on those TED Talks. Absolute fire artist. Go check out his work. We've pinned his tweet and his name is Ibuka Mordi.
Absolutely fantastic, Signal. Thanks for the shout out. Go ahead, Nick.
I thought it'd be hilarious if it was like, and today's artist spotlight is Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso, great artist. Let's move on to the next segment. Thank you.
Cubism. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. Thanks to any new listeners for tuning in. We do this show Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. Eastern time each and every week, where we discuss all things NFTs, crypto, technology, finance, entertainment, gaming, and everything in between. We will be back tomorrow to close out the week. But shout out to everybody that